Welcome to Ike's Flame. Join us on another Star Wars adventure. Punch it, Chewie. Hey y'all, Ike here, and welcome back to another episode this week. I'm super excited to be with you. We are going to be recording I got an episode recorded with J.T Love Craft, another Star Wars nerd creator, loves talking Star Wars. So we're going to talk to him, have an interview, just talk some more good Star Wars. Sorry about the video quality for this intro. Life's been crazy, so I'm recording on my phone, but that is all right. And I hope you guys enjoy this interview and enjoy the first part of this today. Alrighty, friends. If you guys are with us today, we are going to have we got a guest on today. We got JT on today. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking some Star Wars. And as you know, we love interviewing people about Star Wars and getting to know why they love Star Wars. So thanks for joining, JT. It is great to have you on today.
Hey man, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so usually, like one of the first things when I interview people is to ask the question, like, why do you love Star Wars? Like, what? Yeah. So answer that question first. Why do you love Star Wars?
Star Wars came to me at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And even to this day, it's like one of those escapes from reality, which is
Yeah.
very refreshing. And a lot of people can relate to it in different ways too. Kind of bonds us together in a
Yeah.
certain way, which
Yeah.
is nice. But yeah, pretty much that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And like with that, and you kind of referenced that you got into it when you're younger. And that sort of thing. What is there a specific? Is there somebody specific that got you into it, or was it just like the movies were coming out, or like what? Do you remember what exactly got you intrigued by it?
Yes and yes.
Okay,
My dad actually, he was a gamer back in the day when the
okay,
PlayStation 1 came out.
okay.
And we had Spyro Year of the Dragon, like those old classic
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation games. And
Yeah.
one of them was called Jedi Power Battles,
Okay.
which was this on-screen hack and slash platformer run through 10 levels of the Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And after dinner, my dad would play. And I would actually tell him during the dinner table, like, "Hey, can you finish up? Can you finish up so I can watch you play?" Uh,
Yeah.
Eventually, we ended up playing together.
Yeah.
Because you can have two people
Yeah.
on the same screen, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool. And eventually, when it got put to single player, he just kind of put the controller in my hand. He said, "No, no, no, you do it."
Mm.
Which inadvertently got me into gaming as well,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
pretty neat. So it was a catch-22 there,
Yeah.
but yeah. So just growing up around Star Wars, the
Mm-hmm.
entire atmosphere, the prequels were coming out, so I was able to grow up with them.
Yeah.
I was 4 years old actually when I saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters,
Okay.
which is pretty interesting. I don't have crazy memory about it. All I
Yeah.
remember is my mom putting her hand over my eyes when Anakin was burning and Grievous's head was exploding.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a crazy nostalgia factor. Um, just gotta love it, man.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um, Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well. I'm so uh sounds like you're just a couple years younger than I am. So yeah, because prequels were coming out when we were growing up and yeah, going to see them that yeah, I just remember all the excitement around that growing up.
Yeah, it
And
was a
again,
different vibe, man. Even just the toy stores alone. Like you go
yeah,
to Walmart, Toys R Us, it's like the
yep,
entire shelf is just stocked with like 4-inch
yep,
characters. It's crazy.
definitely, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I remember, yeah. And so along with I mean you mentioned so I'm guessing gaming has been a big part of your Star Wars journey and how you've interacted with Star Wars. So, um, like I know you mentioned the game you played with your dad. So like what other Star Wars games have you gotten into? Like what are some of your favorites? And let's go down that rabbit hole a little bit.
Yeah, I think I think Jedi Power Battles, just from nostalgia factor and how it like introduced me, has to be up pretty much up there.
Yeah.
But regardless, the classic Battlefront 2, 2005 was
Yeah.
heavily played as well.
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Sith video game actually
Okay.
was released before the movie, and it had in-movie cutscenes, which was
Yeah.
crazy to think about that.
I didn't realize
Played
that.
that a lot. But a pretty big one would have to be Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
I'm a huge stalker fan of that game. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Was Star Killer there? Diving
oh yeah,
into that. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I remember we had, I had two older brothers, so we had a PlayStation 2, and I remember playing that Battlefront 2 there. Yeah, we played that so much. Remember getting home from school and running in the living room and like, let's go play Battlefront 2 or whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely. But yeah, so um, and have you gotten into any of the like Fallen Order? Yeah, Fallen Jedi Fallen Order, Cal Kestis stuff.
Yeah, I painstakingly 100%ed both of those games, like
Okay.
trophies.
Yeah.
A lot of scanning, a lot of collecting, a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, the payoff is really just seeing the 100% mark,
Yeah.
honestly. But yeah, I enjoyed those games. I enjoyed them
Yeah.
thoroughly.
Yeah.
The introduction of Cameron Monaghan as a Jedi. I loved him in Gotham as
Mm,
the Joker with the
yeah.
staple face and all that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. 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 Um, good stuff. So as you think about like, I know we kind of talked about like why you love Star Wars, what kind of what got you into Star Wars. Why like when you think of Star Wars, and what it kind of means to you, but also like what makes Star Wars Star Wars? Because I feel like, and you mentioned earlier, it's kind of like Star Wars can be kind of almost like a getaway, like get your mind off of things and um that sort of thing. Like, but like, what about this sci-fi fantasy world makes Star Wars Star Wars?
Like you said, that getaway aspect really hits home. I'm a huge fan of like these multi-franchise, different fantasy world
Yeah.
aspects, like Harry Potter, Lord of the
Mm,
Rings,
yeah.
all that stuff. Star Wars is the one that sticks the most, definitely.
Yeah.
And they all have their respective allures that you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
dive into.
Yeah.
But I mean, I collect the comic books exclusively Star Wars, right? All the
Yeah.
Dark Horse stuff, the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but the thing that probably draws me in the most is definitely the lightsaber fighting,
Mm,
and how that relates to the specific characters. And then that also dives into, okay, why do these characters fight like this?
yeah.
That sprouts a rabbit hole that makes you want to learn about deeper stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
nice little trickle down. Like it's an escape, but you can go as casually as you want or as in depth as you want into it
Yeah.
at any time, which is
Yeah,
just awesome.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think that is a neat thing about Star Wars, like you said, is kind of like the surface level and you can just enjoy it, but you can also like you can dive in way over your head and never get to everything that's even in the universe. And so
Yeah, you could know
so much.
nothing about it, or you can be a sweaty when it comes to the knowledge,
Yeah,
but when it
yeah,
comes down to it, it's just the community, man.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
just loves Star Wars. So
yeah, definitely. Um yeah, and you just brought up another aspect and something I was gonna like for you, what because I know I've been probably just in the last 4 or 5 years, I really started to realize the community that is around Star Wars. And so for you, like, have you found like what is that community, Star Wars community, like for you? And how did you find that? What was that like for you? Kind of realizing the community that is around Star Wars.
yeah, this is another thing that hits home too because I was bullied a lot as a kid just for
Mm,
liking Star Wars. There wasn't a lot of people around me that I could talk to about the in-depth knowledge. You know,
yeah,
even when I watch it with my parents, I tried many times to get them into the in-depth stuff, and it just
yeah,
never stuck with them. So I felt trapped in
yeah,
a box.
yeah,
So I was getting desperate to the point where I was just searching up on YouTube like Star Wars live chats, and then
Mm,
I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put my face on the internet. So then I started going on podcasts and talking with other like-minded people, and I found some of my closest friends there.
yeah,
And it's insane how the internet can connect you, man, and especially over something like that you like that.
yeah.
So much to the point where it led me out of the country, and I went to Star Wars Celebration London last April,
That's
uh,
awesome.
and made history like that.
Yeah.
So it's
Y-
it's yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And just the community. And so if you guys are listening to this one and you listen to past podcasts, uh Avela, who I interviewed a few weeks ago, actually introduced me to JT. And so that's kind of how we got connected. So it's just fun, the mutuality, how we um, meet. And I know she mentioned to me that she met up with some friends from the United States at Star Wars Celebration. So I'm assuming you're one of those friends, right?
I am one of them.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, um, talking about Star Wars Celebration, is uh, like what was that like last year? Like, to be able to go to Star Wars Celebration, experience that. Like, for me, that's a
Oh
bucket list.
man,
I've never done it, but like, what is that like? What were some of your favorite things?
dude, you gotta, you just gotta.
Yeah,
Even if you want to start small and just go into like local comic cons and
yeah,
conventions, like that'll kind of kick you up to where it's got to be. But like when you go to Celebration, man, you escape the entire internet atmosphere when it comes to the negative side of it.
yeah,
Everybody is there because they like Star Wars.
yeah,
No matter what degree of knowledge you have, there is no people like hate shilling on the internet. You
yeah,
can have your voiced opinion, but
yeah,
you're in real life. You're in the
yeah,
flesh, bud. You're not going to start fighting in your Chewbacca costume.
yeah,
It's not going to happen. It's not going to
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
But yeah, dude, we went to a celebration last April in London. Pretty big step for me because I've only ever traveled alone one time to Nashville for a smaller Star Wars convention
Okay,
called ICC.
okay,
Um, but what was really cool, at least to me, I hope it is to other people, that'd be interesting. But what was really cool to me was, by my knowledge, I am the only one to be signed by Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson.
oh
I
wow,
basically went up with the autograph price, and I said, "Look, can this be the autograph?" And I had a tattoo artist actually stencil in the Jedi of the Republic symbol, and
yeah,
I was going to have them do, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Rosario Dawson, because they were all three there.
mm,
Ewan McGregor had some weird filming thing where he couldn't get close to people, so that was kind of a bummer. But
okay,
Rosario was super into it. She's like, "That's fire."
yeah, yeah,
Hayden leaned over the tables for me, the double tables, when there's a
yeah,
huge line behind me.
yeah.
Super nice guy. I will complete the circle though. I will get Obi-Wan to do the trio, because this one I got in ICC was actually
I saw that earlier. Yeah.
the first in the world for Ashley Eckstein, Matt, and then James,
Okay.
to do the fulcrum symbol. So having 3 and 3, I feel like I'd start glowing, man. I like
Yeah.
just start levitating.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just going to London, that whole atmosphere, they overflowed people.
Mm.
They let too many people in. I heard it was like 40,000 or
Oh my
something like that on
goodness.
that Saturday. Like it
That's
was
crazy.
shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Worst traffic, worst convention traffic I've ever seen in my life. People were walking in front of you,
Yeah.
but it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so cool.
Like I think for me it just like it blows my mind like that many Star Wars fans in that small of an area. Like what is it like and I feel like that's like you said like told me I gotta go. I feel like it's something you just gotta experience. Um,
Yeah.
so no, that's awesome. Anything else about Celebration that you're like, man, this was just like super cool, and really neat to just be there, or anything
Yeah,
stick out
definitely.
to you?
Yeah, we so Strike, Avela, and I was on their ticket program when they bought them,
Okay.
with the 4-day passes. So when you actually win a ticket for your party, all of them can go. You just need to win one.
Okay.
So when you win the ticket for what's it called? The panel. We went to the Ahsoka and the Lucasfilm panel, which were the
Okay.
two biggest ones, especially
Yeah.
the ones that we wanted to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we got to see the trailers early.
Yeah.
We were sitting there. We watched the Mandalorian episode early for season 3. I forget what one it was, but it
Okay.
was spoiler alerts. It's the one where Vizsla is like, he shuts the door and then he Gatling guns. He's like he sacrifices
Oh yeah,
himself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
Yeah,
saw
that was
that
like
live.
yeah, it was like the second to last one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, during the panel, we actually got wristbands on our way in,
Okay.
which were like, oh, that's cool. That means we're in the panel, whatever. And then at
Yeah.
the end of the panel, they're like, John Favreau's like, hey, if you're wearing a wristband, you get to view the episode with us later today. And this is like a 5,000 person room, and
Yeah.
not everybody showed up. So like us three were part of like 3,300 people in the world that got to see it with the directors like two
Wow.
days early or something like
That's
that.
awesome.
Right? It was pretty unique experience.
Yeah.
That
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 is
definitely stood out. Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah. That's super fun. And I love the I mean, and I feel like those are just those experiences where it's like you get to do it with people, you get to like all that, and it's just like for sure going to be like, hey, I'm going to remember that forever. Like
Oh yeah,
those
100%.
those
I would do it again
opportunities.
in a heartbeat. Yeah,
Yeah.
no
So
no shot. I would
yeah,
totally.
that's awesome. Um. So so what speaking I know we talked a little bit about video games and then and things. What I'm trying to think of. Oh yeah, like so like what other like so like what are some of your favorite movies, series related to Star Wars? Like what are those few that stick out for you that are like these are my favorite ones?
Yeah, so that kind of ties in with what I was saying about the fantasy worlds. Actually,
Yeah.
I like to tell my friends like if I didn't have Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit, like that would be my bread and butter when it
Yeah.
comes to nerd out,
Yeah.
expanded
Yeah.
knowledge,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Silmarillion type, like.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I love Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and uh yeah, those were so much fun. I remember when the Hobbits were coming out, going and seeing those in theater.
Yep.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun. I remember that as well. Yeah. So, um, and then related more like to Star Wars, like what are some of your favorite Star Wars movies? Like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie or favorite two? I'm guessing there may be some nostalgia there with prequels. I get that. I know prequels get some shame at times, but I get the nostalgia. Or even some of the as we gotten into series, like what are some of your favorite series that have come out?
Even the prequel haters cannot deny the fact that Revenge of the Sith is a banger of a movie,
Yeah,
just with how dark it is. So that is definitely going to take the cake when it comes
yeah,
to my favorite,
yeah,
and surprisingly become a popular norm answer nowadays. A lot
yeah,
of people saying Revenge of the Sith. Very cool to see. Wish those people would have spoke up back in the day when no one
yeah,
was speaking about it except the
yeah,
haters. But hey man, I'm glad to see it regardless.
yeah.
But that and I'm a huge Clone Wars fan.
Okay,
Both the '03 and the '08 version. Like that whole era. A lot of people are like, yeah, Empire Strikes Back's my favorite movie, and the Empire is my favorite era.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so I've heard mixed matches too. Like Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie, but
yeah,
Empire is my favorite era. And as an owner of like the comic books, it,
yeah,
it all just trickles down to a certain moment, like in the Clone Wars, when it comes to the Republic line of comics with like
yeah,
Dirge and Ventress and like these cool characters that are
yeah,
just flashy lightsaber moves. Going back to like the combat, it's
yeah.
it's always the cool fights and everything. So
Yeah, and Clone Wars it has a lot of that compared to
yes,
different other eras that we have, and so I I'm right there with you. I don't know if Clone Wars is for sure my favorite, but it's definitely up there, and I think a lot of that is the character development and the fight scenes we get and all that has for us, which is so good, and yeah, definitely. So, and then have you gotten any? I know you mentioned comics. So it sounds like you're a big comics guy. You collect them. Um, and then also like between comics, have you gotten any books? Have you gone down that road yet, or are you sticking more in the comics area?
I have this weird thing where I can't look at text for too long
Okay.
because my HD brain just darts off into
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's gotta be like an audiobook, right? If
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like chilling at work listening to the Plagueis novels,
Yeah.
I'm all for it, right?
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I'm staring at the book, I'm like, he did the what? Wait, no, let me flip back a couple pages.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna. Comic books, they kind of spoon feed it to you a little bit better.
Yeah.
I know with something like the Heir to the Empire translation with the comics compared to the
Yeah.
actual books, like the actual book is better. The book series is better, sorry. But I'm just an eye candy guy,
Yeah.
like seeing the explosions like rah, and it's like a
Yeah.
speech bubble. Come on, that's just
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
nerdy stuff right
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, I love the books. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I also read quite a bit, but like I think I've never actually gotten into comics that much. But I from some other guys and things like that I've started to, which is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed that, but it just I think that's the other unique thing about Star Wars that I love is like that's part of the reason I love interviewing like people like you and others where like you're into different aspects of Star Wars than I am. And like we relate, we all love Star Wars, but we dive into different areas, especially when it
yeah.
comes to the nerdy side of it. Like, okay, do you read books? Do you like comics? Do you do cosplay or you're really into video games or whatever that is? And so like I just always find that super fun.
Hey y'all, I hope you guys enjoyed this first section of this interview with JT and got to know him a little better, know what he loves about Star Wars, and just our conversation there. And I hope you guys join us this coming Friday for the second part of the interview. So come back Friday, uh, listen to the rest of the interview with JT as we talk all kinds of Star Wars things and legends and lightsabers and all kinds of things. So come back. Let's chat more, and we'll see you guys Friday. Light the fire.